guys, welcome to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is the 3rd of June, 2016, and we hope you all enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. It's back to the regular 5-day week grind starting on Monday. We have a few kid announcements, a few things that have strolled in from the Japanese guys, and that's really going to be it. It's going to be a fairly short video, I believe, unless I get off rambling on something, just because it's one of them deals where there's not really, I want to say 5 Fridays this month, but just the way the month fell, this is sort of like a dead man's land as far as this goes, because everything came out for May, and it's a little too early for July announcements, and the June stuff obviously isn't going to start coming in with regularity for another couple of weeks. So hopefully next week we'll have some stuff as far as kit announcements and the decals for June and things like that. So the two kit announcements we have to talk about are July spot runs from Fujimi, and they are the Toyota Altezza RS200, and that's just the regular sort of run-of-the-mill, if you will, Toyota Altezza. They released one that was like a Z edition or something like that here a month or two ago. And this is just sort of the base kit, just the standard off-the-shelf Altezza. And then they're also reissuing the Toyota Mark II 2000 GT Twin Turbo GX81. Now that would be the, mid to late 80s Toyota Mark II. This kit hasn't been around for a really long time. I'm not sure when it was reissued last. I don't know that it's been reissued more than once, actually. It was run, back in the mid 90s or so, because it does run on the very promo style chassis that the GX91 Mark II runs on. They reissued those kits about a year ago. This is sort of the same thing. So it's a more modern chassis. It's not motorized or sort of one of Fujimi's famous generic chassis. Yes, it was used in another kit, but that kit was a continuation, basically, of this car. I'd have to actually go really, really dig to see if the GX81 series came out before the GX91 series in terms of how they released the kits. Because the GX91 is like the early to mid 90s version, and which is pretty much, unless you get the Aoshima version, which is the GX100, that's the mid to late 90s version. That's pretty much where the Mark II, the Cresta, and the what am I thinking of? Chaser. There you go. The three cars that are all more or less the same in their chassis and their internals and all that. They're just sort of like a base car, a sporty version, and then a luxury version. They sort of ended all at once in the late 90s, where they went on to different chassis platforms. A couple, I want to say that the Chaser doesn't exist anymore. I'd have to actually, like I said, go look at that stuff, because those cars stopped being all the same and started being a little more divergent after the GZX100 series. So anyway, like I said, I realize that neither one of those things is probably going to really tick a lot of people's boxes unless you build, a lot of JDM stuff. I am happy to have the GX81 Mark II back out, mainly because I don't have one of that generation, and it pretty much plugs the only missing slot, as far as generationally speaking, of Mark IIs that I don't have. And I realize that I have a very eclectic Toyota collection in that sense. So, other than that, the only other major kit announcement that was recently, and we did a video of this Wednesday, was the announcement from Meng, of course, that they're going to be doing the H1 Hummer. This is going to be if you didn't watch our little 7-minute video we did on this on Wednesday. Because for some reason YouTube and Google Plus and everything wasn't playing well together that night when I uploaded the video, so I couldn't really share the video as much as I normally do with this stuff. If you missed it, this is going to be a full detail kit. All the doors are going to open on it. The hood's going to open on it as a full engine. It'll be an opportunity for a lot of people to get a modern-ish, because this is, they stopped making the H1 in 2006 for civilian consumption. And so this is going to be a DEF pre-emissions, if you will, diesel engine, but it should have the diesel engine, and I don't see where they would make the one with the gas engine. So there'll be another modern-day diesel out there. Obviously, there's the modern sort of pre-emissions Power Stroke that came in the F-350 kit that Meng did. The reason we're bringing this up again is because the next day, on Thursday, and wasn't really worth doing a whole nother video, Meng announced that they're going to be doing an upgrade kit for it as well. Now, this is going to be a resin kit. I can't emphasize enough that it is a resin kit. So, why am I emphasizing resin? Well, first of all, invariably somebody's going to buy one of these and try to assemble the roof rack and the lights and everything with like regular modeling cement, and that's not going to work. I don't care what modeling cement you use, whether it be tube glue or Model Master liquid cement or Tamiya regular or Tamiya extra fine or whatever. None of it's going to work because you can't glue resin together with plastic styrene glue. Styrene glue, if you've never noticed when you're gluing things together with it, melts the plastic together. That's what causes the bond. It's really a chemical reaction that melts the styrene and bonds it that way. That's why you can't get it back apart again, and why you have to throw things in, put stuff in water and throw it in the freezer in order to get old kits apart and whatnot. You need to use either CA, super glue, or you need to use some form of epoxy, 5 minute, 20 minute, how many minutes you need to glue all this stuff together. The other reason we're bringing up the fact that it's resin is because it's going to be a fairly limited edition thing. Resin molds, depending on what they're making them out of in China to make this upgrade kit. Those molds are usually only good for about 50 runs or so before you have to make a whole new mold again. So I don't expect there's going to be a great deal of these available. It'll definitely, more than likely, unless they said they more than likely this is going to be what most Chinese-based resin is now, and that would be stuff like Hobby Design and the stuff you're seeing out of Playmos and things like that, where this is all 3D CAD designed, and then it's 3D printed, and then the molds are made from those 3D prints. Which means if they need a new master to make new molds, they can just fire one out real fast and clean it up and then do the resin casting off of it. So it's not nearly the way the old style resin manufacturing was, where if you lost a master because you had to send it back to the guy who made the master, or you wore the master out, if you will, there would just be no more because there wasn't a way to make new molds. They can make new molds, but I would say that if you want that roof rack and front roll caging for your hood there, if you want one of those, whenever these come up for pre-order, and believe me, we'll let you guys know, whenever it comes up for pre-order, get one. Get in line for the pre-order. This is not going to be one of those situations. The model kit itself, you could find one of those later. They're kind of hard to come by in the United States because certain Meng keeps changing who they're importing their kits through, and so it's hard to figure out for your local hobby shop who to get the kits from, because they were through Squadron, then they were through somebody else. Now they're back over at Squadron again, but Squadron doesn't seem to be importing the F-350 for whatever reason. But you can still get them through Hong Kong and Japan and stuff like that. You could get the model kit whenever you want to, but this limited edition resin stuff like this, and some of the trans kits that we talked about from Playmos, they're going to be doing the Miata here and the Mustang 2013 Boss Mustang, or not Boss Mustang, but GT 500 Mustang relatively soon. If you're going to want one of those, you're going to have to go grab it. People have been figuring that out. Of course, with a lot of stuff that 8181 does that's sold out, and C1 that's sold out, and Hobby Design that you can't find anymore. And, these are, it's resin. It's limited edition stuff, not in the sense that they're trying to intentionally drum up business, but that's just the nature of what resin is, and you could be all, well, why aren't they doing it in styrene? Well, because military stuff, upgrade stuff, tends to be in resin. Just that's their business. They're mostly a military modeling company, and so their upgrade kit for their automotive stuff, it's in resin. Be nice to see them throw out a resin dually bed for the F-350 if they want to do it that way, if they don't want to actually make a kit of it. But be that as it may, you are now informed about that. And like I said, guys, I'm literally checking vendors every day to see when this kit's going to get listed, because looking at the digital material that would be printed if you had the opportunity to get a pamphlet in person, it looks like the kit is done, or at least the thing that they showed with the announcement is a built test shot of the model. How far along they are, I don't know. They tend to be Tamiya-ish in their military stuff, where they'll announce stuff maybe 6 to 9 months in advance. To me, it tends to be 3 months, but you know what I'm saying. It's not very far in advance. It's not. I don't expect this to linger out there release-wise the way some of Aoshima stuff does, where it may be 9, 10, 11, 12 months later before the kit gets out, which isn't necessarily a knock against Aoshima. I'd rather have it correct than fast. Paging Ravel. We'd rather have it correct than fast. Thank you. The nature of the Asian market is they tend not to announce things before they're at least somewhat progressed down the line. As of yet, I'm not seeing any pricing for it, and I'm not seeing any release date for it. Just expect it to not be $30, and expect that if you want one right away, you're gonna have to go through either Hong Kong or Japan, because they'll have to be imported through Squadron, and then they'll have to go to your hobby shop, and blah 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 blah. It's gonna take months more to get them locally than it will be through Asia, and of course you will pay too much for them in the process. So let's talk about the 3 reissues out of Japan this month that are out for June. These are June releases. This is the Hasegawa Lamborghini Miura Piece 400 SV. We didn't actually talk about this as a reissue for the month of June because I had it down for May. So apparently I read the release sheet wrong. That stuff said after May, not in May. So there's a Fairlady Z432R and, of course, the Subaru 360 Deluxe K111 that are also being reissued, but when depends on what vendor you look at, because Hobbylink Japan says July for that stuff, and other people say June, so we'll see. Anyway, the Lamborghini Miura SV back out. It's a curbside kit like pretty much every Hasegawa kit is. I think there may be a version of this floating around, much like there are for several other Hasegawa kits, where there's a pot metal engine that's available in one of the really, really old, well, not really, really old, the kit's not that old, but, a 90s reissue kind of old. But it's a really nice kit, regardless, because this actually, is following the actual car, whereas that Jota SV that exists is a replica of the real car, so it's kind of not correct in that sense. But moving on from that, there are 2 Aoshima reissues, and they are the TE71 Corolla 1600 GT sedan early version, part of that trifecta of slightly modified Corollas that Aoshima put out from the end of 2014 through 2015. Best Car Vintage kit, so know the motorization and all the rest of that happiness. And then the other kit that has been reissued this month is the top secret R34 Nissan Skyline GTR. Not a hard kit to find, just a stocking restuff, basically. There's nothing new about that. It's not being put into the tuned car line as of yet. It is just a straight reissue outside of the new boxing series. And guys, like I said, that's it. So less than 15 minutes, but probably most of that was rambling about resin. So be that as it may, we hope you've enjoyed this episode, and you'll tune in for further episodes in the future. Got a couple of things in mind that I got to film and edit and encode and all the rest of that happiness. I guess one last thing before we leave. I've had a slight modification of my work schedule, so it allows me now to not have to go out of town in the first half of the week like I have been for the past 6 months. So knocking on desk and the laptop itself and the mic, and so knock on the camera while we're at it, that this will continue on that way, and I am running pretty much local stuff now, where I'm just shuttling raw materials to our manufacturing plant and the retail product back to our warehouse, and along with some random other stuff. We have a retail store location that I deliver to as well, and then picking up various raw materials here, there, and everywhere else. But it should mean that I'm working 10 to 12 hour days, 5 days a week. I'm still off on the weekends like I have been. And now I don't have to leave Sunday night to go to Jersey or Maryland or something like that, like I have been, and losing the first half of the week. So hopefully I can get some stuff done built-wise. I can pay a little more attention to the YouTube channel, and we'll see where that goes. So anyway, we'll see you guys on the other side.